Hello world, you're watching 80s Music Twin Ranked. I'm Joel.
I'm Chris.
Today's artist, I don't know. 3 artists in one.
It's hot tonight.
I know what you hot tuna. I know what you see behind us. It says Jefferson Starship. But before we get there, we have to do a little recap of the band that came before them.
Yes,
Which
Jefferson Airplane.
Prior to our time, because it was during the 60s, basically.
Yes.
Psychedelic and, the hippie movement. That's really... You watch Grace Slick on interview with Dick Cavett. She looks like she's not all there.
Yeah. The only thing you need to know, Grace Slick really is the glue that holds the 3 bands together.
She is.
There's other members that hold maybe Jefferson Airplane with Jefferson Starship.
Right.
And there's a couple members of Jefferson Starship with Starship. But all 3, Grace Slick was in.
Yeah. And she would have had their 2 first big hits.
She wrote them for her previous band. I can't remember what it was called, but they weren't big then. But she wrote White Rabbit and
Somebody to Love,
which was called Someone to Love with her band. So it's retitled.
So that means they came first, Queen came second. Important. But just like I just mentioned, she was on Dick Cavett, and that's similar to like Ed Sullivan. They bring the musicians and Dave Letterman let the bands play on their show, and she actually cussed on the show during the song.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can watch. There are people smoking.
Yeah,
people smoked right, doing interviews and just had a cigarette in their mouth.
Yeah. And one of the not gonna go. That's pretty much the only song we're gonna mention from them because of the other stuff. I don't.
Yeah. Now, White Rabbit is it's only like 2.5 minutes long, but if you listen to the lyrics, it's totally about Alice in Wonderland.
Yes. And you kind of wonder. Well, I've heard Lewis Carroll. He had to have been doing drugs when he wrote Alice in Wonderland.
Probably. His caterpillar
really
was smoking a whole
freaky, right?
Yeah.
And so it goes to wonder that a band during that time would write something about Alice in Wonderland. And who knows, maybe saying White Rabbit is a particular drug because Puff the Magic...
Because there was a White Rabbit, he was
Right.
late, but a very important date.
Puff the Magic Dragon. People say it's about a drug.
Right.
So
Ben Stiller ruined it for Robert De Niro.
So that's the area you lived in back then.
Oh, speaking of Ben Stiller,
okay,
which I said he just ruined Puff the Magic Dragon in that movie.
Right. Meet the Parents.
Yes, but he directed a movie called The Cable Guy, with Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, and in there is a scene in there where Jim Carrey's doing karaoke,
and
he sings "Somebody to Love."
Somebody to Love. That's right. And it's the cameras doing these weird angles.
Yeah,
like it's
and they're going back and forth with Matthew Broderick is with this girl, and
I forgot about that too. So that's your Jefferson Airplane. I will say there aside from that incident on Dick Cavett, I did read something that they Grace Slick and Paul Kantner, I think, were both accused of assaulting a police officer in Akron, Ohio. We grew up in Akron, Ohio.
They were together for a time, and she got pregnant. She had a child.
I think after she was married to somebody named Darby Slick. I think. And then the Cantners started a relationship with her. During that marriage, they divorced. They had a baby named China, and you will find her.
She is the woman that's supposedly like Mickey Thomas's wife in the video for No Way Out.
Yeah. So that means I didn't look up ages, but I would guess Mickey Thomas is significantly younger, probably, hopefully.
But he's probably also older than China, but looked there.
Right. And that's the norm in Hollywood. The men outlast the women for sure. You get the young women and the older men.
So I read a lot of things about Grace Slick. She's not really a good person. That's what I saw. She wore blackface at a Smothers Brothers variety show, and she, all the bands there. And I think that's when she was in Jefferson Airplane, the beginning of Jefferson.
Sounds like.
And she's all brown, and she said she wanted to wear all the makeup in the dressing room.
And maybe it wasn't black. Maybe it wasn't black. It could have been various colors, but like anything, you mix multiple colors. Eventually, it turns out black. You're like, oh, yellow. No,
it was more of a brown, but she had. Her arms were done. It looked like looked like tanning gone wrong.
Right.
They had a concert in Germany, and somebody was sick, so they couldn't do the first tour. They canceled the date, and so then the people were mad, stole their equipment. They had to get replacement equipment. So when they played for the Germans, she was saying all sorts of stuff like "Who won the war?" and all that. And she was treating the Germans.
Oh my goodness.
She was treating the Germans like all the Germans had to do with what Hitler was doing.
Wow.
Yeah. So she got fired that night.
And that's funny because this is one of those bands with all the members that have come and gone between the three bands. It would be impossible to tell you who was on what album because even her and Kantner, right at the tail end, they've left the band and they came back like one album later.
Yeah.
So,
one of the guys that was in the band was a drummer on the song for Jefferson Starship. Jane, I wouldn't say their first hit. They had Miracles, but first hit with Mickey Thomas.
Right, and that was his first album.
Ainsley Dunsmore!
And it's right. I mean, it's the year after he left Journey.
But he only lasted two albums.
Right. But good, two good songs, right?
Yeah.
So Winds of Change had Find Your Way Back. So he had the two big hits off their Jefferson Starship era. That's what I say. Miracles, yes, we know it's the bigger hit. It ranked up all the way to 3, but
yeah, and they didn't have a bigger hit until We Built the City, which was actually Starship. So
right. So but back and forth, and then you notice Paul Kantner again. We'll get back to him. He died, and Marty Balin, the other singer for them, he's also dead. So
yeah, Paul Kantner, 2016, and he died with another person same day, same year. From Marty Balin, 2018.
Right, and so that means Mickey Thomas is next.
Because of the singers.
It's like the connection with Grace Slick. You work with her? No, that's not true. Okay, so just so you know, those two songs of theirs from Jefferson Airplane came off a weird album title, Surrealistic Pillows.
Yeah, which was kind of named because of something Jerry Garcia said to them.
What did he say to them?
He said, this music is as surreal as pillows are soft. That's what he said, so they...
See, if you were to ask me what's that mean without knowing, I would have had to say something.
That's why they...
you took drugs and you did the smoke puff, you're like, oh, like a pillow.
Same thing with why they call themselves Jefferson Airplane. It had to do with the nickname. Somebody in the band was called... something Thomas Jefferson Airplane. I can't remember the...
Okay.
So, and then they took the last part of that nickname.
So, okay, you probably read more than I did. Why the switch to Starship?
Starship? Because when some band members left, the new band formed, they had to name themselves, and the business manager said, well, let's keep the Jefferson, because that would help you in your image, because you'll be kind of related. That's why they kept the Jefferson and went to Starship. Now,
and it would make sense if their music was
Starship. Now the Starship it had to do with, there was a song written. Paul Kantner wrote a song. Can't remember what the title was, but it was talking about starships and leaving Earth. Which shouldn't Boston be suing them because all their album covers? Yes. Oh no, Boston came later. Maybe they should sue Boston.
So you would think during the 80s when people started really buying albums based on good music, right? That one of their popular albums would be, especially the album that has 2 #1 hits. But no, out of all the 3 bands, their best album, Red Octopus.
Yes.
Which has Miracles on it. You'll have to listen to Miracles. I can't recall even what the part that I know. You have to listen to it. You're like, oh yeah, I do recognize it.
If only you could be.
That's right. But how does that song make that the best-selling album of the 3?
And you might know "Count on Me." Count on
Me. Maybe. I thought I knew "With Your Love," but then I listened. I'm like, no, that's probably somebody else is saying the word.
Yeah.
I think because sometimes you pick a title and somebody already picked it. It's like Somebody to Love. Okay. All right, so I will say, after the first 2 Starship albums, the third incarnation, is that what you call it? Okay, 2 albums with all the hits on it, and then Grace Slick left. She went back to Jefferson Airplane. They regrouped and did an album in 1989 called Windows of Heaven. And I'm sure nobody knows anything off that album because by that time, people were like, yeah, wasn't that a band from the 60s? So nobody's listening to that.
Interesting enough, there was a time period, I think it was late 80s. All three incarnations were around.
Yes.
You had an album from Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship, and Starship. You could
crazy. And
take your pick.
And I think Marty Balin was part of one.
Paul Kantner was
part of one.
yeah.
Mickey Thomas. So
Yeah.
the three singers.
And Grace Slick, she was singing. No, I don't think she was doing it.
And everybody was having solo albums.
Yeah.
Grace Slick has at least 4 solo albums that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
Marty Balin, let's go to him. Because he's part of the Jefferson Starship. He's the singer before Jane. Those sing with the Miracles.
Here's another thing. Their music reminds me of like Fleetwood Mac, because Fleetwood Mac had the beginning era before the era.
But the later stuff, no, it would remind you of Styx, Yellow. Matter of fact, or REO Speedwagon before 80s. Because Mickey Thomas, does he not look like Kevin Cronin with the curly hair?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and Roll with the Changes is similar to like Jane to me when you hear it. Okay, but anyways, Marty Balin had a solo career, small one, a couple albums.
Yeah, and the biggest song I know is from 1981. So
early, and it's called Hearts, and you like it, and I don't. I did not include his stuff above the top.
Yeah, I put it up there. I knew it'd probably be.
It was familiar to me, but yeah, like he's one of those.
It's the only one I recognized.
Yeah, who would have had a career similar to this? I don't know.
Well, I said Fleetwood Mac stuff because they have beginning stuff, and then their stuff that we know. Fleetwood Mac. I said them more. Chicago. Also, they had their earlier stuff. Doesn't sound
so
like
very familiar, very similar to Fleetwood Mac because they started with Paul Green.
Right.
Then they had Bob Welch. Bob Welch would be Marty Balin when you come to the solo career.
Yeah,
3 hits and that's it.
Yeah, they did have like 3 changes.
And get this, Peter Green and Bob Welch are both dead. So it's just like Starship because those 2 singers are dead. Oh my goodness. So
Jefferson Airplane was part of the Altman Park, the Rolling Stones, Gimme Shelter, the free concert that Rolling Stones put away.
You had mentioned Marty Balin getting hit.
Right. But they also were in Woodstock. I didn't know they were in Woodstock.
I thought they
2 years later, I believe.
Because, I mean, really, when you think of the psychedelic style of music they had, definitely Jimi Hendrix comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I would see him going to Woodstock, yeah. Yeah, but anything else from... So they had... What's funny
the big change when Marty Balin left and they had to hire Mickey Thomas. Big change.
Here we go.
Music.
I don't know if you know this. I looked it up and I was surprised myself. Okay. There's a band called the Edwin Bishop Band. You know it?
Yeah.
One hit wonder. Okay.
What's their song?
I fooled around and fell in love. Old style song.
I probably have to hear the music because I don't recognize it.
Guess who's the lead singer? Mickey Thomas.
Okay.
That song went up to number 3, so it rivaled Miracles.
Okay.
And then that was 1976. And then what? For their first album, what was that one called? With Jane. Freedom. Freedom at Point Zero. So that was 1979. So 3 years later, he joined Starship. And I'm guessing that's got to be, part of the reason he joined the band, because he had that hit. But there is another reason. He was in a movie. So there's a movie called Skateboard.
Okay.
Do you remember seeing that?
Never seen it.
Okay, so there's a movie called Skateboard, and it's actually the guitarist who's got the Chiquita name or whatever it's called.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, he was an amateur skateboarder.
Okay.
And so he was in that movie, and Mickey Thomas was playing as one of some band member in the movie, and so they met on that set. It's like a comedy, sort of, I guess. And the premise of it is there's a skateboarding race, and it's whoever finishes first. You start at the top of the hill. Everybody's on a skateboard going down, getting faster. Yeah. Weird.
Okay, so their first hit with Mickey Thomas, Jane.
Jane.
Big hit. For the longest time, until a couple years ago,
I thought it was Change.
I thought it was Change.
Change, I did.
And it's actually Jane. Now, the funny thing about that is they have an album that's 10 years
Winds of
and Change. No, not Winds of Change.
Oh, not Winds of Change.
I think it might be a compilation of greatest hits.
Oh, okay.
10 years and Change. You know, like,
You know what?
Change.
My guess is a lot of people probably thought that.
Yeah.
And they know that a lot of people thought that, and maybe that's why they titled it that. Yes.
Yeah, and Jane is, if you ever saw the movie or the series on Netflix, it's the beginning of it. They played Jane before Wet Hot American Summer.
Yes.
And in the movie, I don't know if it might be Bradley Cooper's debut.
Now, I would assume if there's any Weird Al songs.
I don't think there is.
He would have taken, Starship. And I would think We Built a City would be the song he'd take because it's supposed to be the worst song ever from the 80s.
Yeah, it reached number one. Okay, so Nuclear Furniture, their cover has a green chair on it. And that chair is part of their video No Way Out, where he's sitting in it and talking to Father Guido Sarducci.
Right. And I forget where he came. Was he Saturday Night Live or SCTV?
Well, his first pair was Smothers Brothers.
Oh, okay.
But
right.
he was on SNL.
Yeah, that's what I figured to have character.
He's probably on SCTV too. That was a character, that guy.
Nah, he's in Confession, obviously.
Yeah, he's in Confession. Grace keeps taking pictures.
And he keeps getting zapped by Father Guiducci. So is that the nuclear chair?
And Father Guiducci. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know if it's electronic, but the camera keeps taking a picture of him. Father Guido Sarducci one time he's eating a sandwich while he's in Confession.
It's supposed to be funny.
Yeah. The whole band is in the video.
I wouldn't mind seeing that or hearing that.
That was one of the videos when MTV was on. We'd always want to
see it, and it's. I don't know that it's a great song. I like this.
It's not a great video either, but we were young, so it's like
put something stupid on.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to see. So
yeah, and they're not really known for good videos. Their earlier stuff, they didn't have any videos other than
their biggest thing when they were Jefferson Starship. I don't know which band we're talking about. Jefferson Starship is they were on the Star Wars holiday.
That's right. There's your movie.
And they were the hologram
TV movie.
That whatever Lumpy Chewy, whoever the
yeah. So if you don't know what the movie's got I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a bad rap, but a bad reputation because here you have this great
so
movie,
weird,
great movie, and they're like, hey, let's put a TV movie out.
There's your Weird Al connection, because White and Nerdy has the nerdy Weird Al doing like a drug deal with a guy, and he hands him money. He gets the
That's right.
Pulls out the holiday
special. That movie. That's right. And you can actually see it online. I think on YouTube. And it's all about Chewbacca's family. So not a whole lot of words in it.
No.
But yeah, they're playing it as a hologram.
Yeah, and everybody says the best thing about it is the Boba Fett intro in the cartoon. So.
Yes, and somehow they got Han Solo to go to Chewbacca's house. It's a Christmas special. Do they really celebrate?
Life Day.
Do they celebrate?
Life Day. And Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia sings for them, why would she be the one saying from this? She's not a Wookiee.
I'd love to say that's the creepiest part of the video, but no.
Oh no, the creepiest is the one where the dad watches the
he's got like
alien porn pretty much.
Yeah, and that was on TV. That was a TV movie.
Yeah, and George Lucas has been hunting down every video trying to destroy it.
Right, and I don't know, maybe that's the reason Saturday Night Live had Bill Murray sing Star Wars. Making fun of it. I don't know. That could be the reason. So. All right, so
on to
Starship.
Wait.
Correction, it's Elvin Bishop, not Edwin Bishop.
One-hit wonder. Irrelevant, nobody cares.
Forgive me, it's a one-hit
wonder. He's not 80s anyway, so.
All right, so I know we're still doing movies, but did you know Grace Slick was on Sesame Street over 65 times?
Was she?
I don't know. I think I think she was a voice of one of the little
That's what I was gonna
characters.
say. Is she a character?
It was a specific character, and I think it's.
So she didn't appear as herself.
Yeah, and I can't think of what the character's name was called, but it said number 8, number 7, number 6, so she bounced around on something. All right, and also, go back to Jefferson Starship. Paul Kantner, okay? So we're talking about No Way Out, obviously. He did not like the way Nuclear Furniture was going.
Yeah, so he put the tapes in his car and
Grabbed the master tapes.
drove around the city for a couple
San
days.
Francisco. Wow.
That's right. Yeah, you know what happens when you're in a hot car with tapes is they melt.
Yeah, that's right. They're in San Francisco. It's not winter there. So yeah, so I don't know what they decided, but that's probably why. Okay, so they left the band, right?
But he left shortly after.
He left shortly after. I think they had one more album after that. Oh no, Nuclear Furniture would have been last. I was thinking so bad.
Yeah, it is the last.
When's it changed? Then Nuclear Furniture, and he did that.
And then
so
they went into a court sued to get the Jefferson. They agreed to not have the Jefferson.
And that's why we now have
Starship.
Starship, because Paul Kantner. Look, crazy Paul Kantner. Who does?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because when Starship came out, I did not realize they just went to Starship. I'm like, oh, it's another Jefferson Starship. I don't know if it was a while before I finally realized it's named differently.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll get back to movies. So the next is it the next one? The next album to me should have been their biggest selling album. Has the, 2 number ones, Sara and We Built the City, back to back.
No, that's Knee Deep in the Hoopla.
Oh no, you're right. Knee Deep in the Hoopla. What did I say?
You said the second one had the bigger one.
Oh,
Knee Deep in the Hoopla is
the first
the
album.
debut Starship.
Right.
That's the one that had.
That should have been their biggest.
Sara. And those, they had 3 at Starship. They have 3 number ones. We Built the City, Sara, and Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now.
Right. Which came from a movie.
Mannequin. But it wasn't their first movie. They had previous.
And movies. I don't know when Rolling Stone put out an article and says worst number 1 song ever from the 80s.
Yeah.
And I looked at the 80s. I mean, there's some like now
really,
obviously you're not talking about all time.
First of all, it's a matter of opinion, just like this whole show based on opinions. But can you say, okay, the majority of people brought it to number 1, so they love it. You're like, it's the worst song. How can it be the worst song if so many people love it?
Not only that, that is still one of the songs that plays today. If you hate it so much, why are you still playing it? Right? There's a song on the second album that also made the top 10, not a number 1. Okay? That I love. It's not over till it's over. It's not over till it's over. Which is, again, that's another thing from, you don't know what it's got. You don't know it's got another phrase out there.
I thought it wasn't over until the Fat Lady song.
Right. You gotta change it up because that's
so when Grace Slick, when she gets big, then it'll be over.
Anyway, but I mean, just talk about movies. They have a song called Wild Again, which another song I like.
Yeah.
You Didn't Drink It High. It's and I don't remember ever hearing it, but I liked it after. I'm like, oh, that is pretty good.
Was that from Cocktail?
It's from Cocktail. So they have a song from Cocktail. So Cocktail could be a good ranked soundtrack album. But you know what else is on Cocktail? Don't Worry, Be Happy. Which the only a cappella song ever to go to number 1. And it stayed there for 2 weeks. Now you want to tell me that song is not the worst song ever to hit number 1? Bobby McFerrin. I don't think I ever hear that one on the radio at all.
Yeah. No, and Robin Williams is in that video.
Yes.
And which is that would be ironic because the song's called "Don't Worry, Be Happy,"
and he was depressed.
But he was he had depression.
Yeah. So I put my vote for that song. and that was in the 80s. Cocktail was a 1988 movie, so yeah. What do you think is the worst song from the 80s. Now, I don't know, were they just talking about number ones? Were they just talking about number ones? Because obviously, if you
I don't know.
beyond,
There's a lot of worse songs, but yeah, worse number ones maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, if you go beyond the 80s, the Macarena went up to number one. And you got a song like Spice Girls probably number one.
Did like Disco Duck? How did that go up to number one? I'll bet
that was high. That
was that DJ. What was the DJ's name?
I forgot.
There's a DJ that put it out.
Yes, I remember that. And then
Convoy. That
was that number?
It was probably 70s, but that probably went way up there. That was on the radio.
But was that on a rock and roll or a country music station?
Probably AM.
Hard to know. AM.
Because remember when we were growing up in the 70s, I remember we listened to AM stations too.
Yes, we did.
I don't think FM really got big until late 70s, early 80s.
Now, when it comes to movies, though, the one they're probably most known for would be Mannequin.
Mannequin, yeah.
Because that's the song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. Still on the radio, went all the way up to number one. Grace Slick played the Mannequin for Mickey Thomas, and then they went back and forth between the movie scenes. How'd that one get a sequel? That's what I
have yet to see the original. I've never seen
the original, but Kim Cattrall was big. Obviously, she was in Porky's or whatever back then. And then the guy, though, that was in the second one, I do know this. He was in a TV show that I liked called Herman's Head. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, I remember Herman's Head.
Yeah, and in that show, they had, it's like the Inside Out. 4 people up in his brain. And one of the guys does radio voice here in Ohio. He's the one that does the little, you may say we're drunk. Well, yeah, we play anything or whatever. He does voice over here in Ohio. And he was also the Santa Claus in Home Alone. So that, just in case you're wondering who we're talking about, he was in that show, Home Alone, and voice radio. All over the place, I know. All right, so... knee deep in the hoopla. What's a hoopla?
Every time I hear that, I mean, it's one of the verses in We Built This City. But I always, when I hear knee deep, my mind goes back to the book we always read, Hoopla.
That's not hoopla.
I know it isn't, but my mind thinks that. Or it's the one song, All the Young Dudes, Mott the Hoople.
But it's not hoopla.
I know, it makes me think of those things.
No, you know what it makes me think of is the Hudsucker Proxy. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes.
Tim Robbins and Paul Newman, and he invented the hula hoop.
Yeah.
And he kept making the joke, I don't know what all the hoopla's about. The press laughed
That's
about.
probably what knee deep in the hoopla
Yeah.
is. What's all the hoopla about?
Right, so there's hoopla. Hoopla is there's another word that also is like, now I'm gonna throw. I can't think of. I'll lose sleep tonight because I can't think of the word right now.
Well, I wonder what hoopla could mean is poop, because if you're knee deep in it, it's possible.
Okay. Next album, I don't remember the album. There's a point where you knew album titles.
Yeah.
You could identify Thriller, Michael Jackson, Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen, and then you're like, whose album is No Protection? I don't know. There was a point where I stopped memorizing who put out what album. I don't remember No Protection, but I know the songs on it.
Yeah.
And then Grace Slick obviously left after that.
I'll tell you one that I do remember growing up, and it's from Jefferson Airplane, is their greatest hits was called The Worst of Jefferson Airplane. I remember that album growing up, seeing it. And I always thought, why would you put an album out with their worst songs? Not really knowing they're being ironic. I was thinking, okay, I mean, I guess you could do that if you want to.
What year
here's our worst songs.
Well, what year did they put that out?
I don't know.
Was it after We Built the City?
No. Jefferson Airplane's worst of Jefferson Airplane was probably during the Jefferson Starship.
Yeah, but I'm saying, once you have the rumor, well, that's the worst song ever, then you put out an album to poke fun at what they're saying. Anyways, did I mention Red Octopus was their best? How's that possible?
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, they actually Grace Slick moves on. They had one more album without her, and then they disbanded. But they did come back 2013 for A Loveless Fascination. What's on that? I don't know. Nobody's going to know because come 2013, nobody's listening to Starship anymore.
Yeah, because we're rounding a corner. Rock and roll is going out the door.
Yes.
So.
And were there any other movie ties?
There probably was. There was another movie. I can't think of it right now.
Yeah.
They did write a song for
Youngblood with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. They wrote a song specifically for that movie. Yep.
Yeah, but it was not
With
a
Rob
single.
Lowe.
Couldn't have been a single.
And Cynthia Gibb, who was in the one with John Claude Van Damme. What was that one? The Death Warrant, I believe it was. He was Gene Claude or John Claude?
Who cares?
He was big in the 80s.
Or Jean Claude.
He was
Jean Claude sounds
He was big in the 80s.
Yes. What was his best movie?
I would say that was my favorite. That was one that was played all the time.
Death Warrant.
Yeah, that was one that was played. That was one where he was a cop, then he went undercover into the.
I liked Lionheart. And specifically one scene where this big dude's ready to
Yeah,
fight
that was a
him.
good one. Yeah,
When he did this split and then hit him in the
yeah, Bloodsport was pretty good. We're just gonna next week we're gonna rank John damn movies.
We may turn this channel into movies and music eventually. All right, might as well get to our top 10.
Top 10.
Did that record everything? I don't know. All right, I have to mention this. Mickey Thomas was in Dream a Little Dream with the two Corys. One more movie time. And
Mickey Thomas sang Jane, and there is an actor named Thomas Jane.
and that word I couldn't think of, hubbub.
Hubbub.
What's all the hubbub
about? Yeah.
All right, that was it. Top 10. Okay, so we each lose one song. And I knew this, obviously, because I do the list. But
That's actually pretty good. We usually are 2 and 3.
yes, so Wild again from
One you lose?
Cocktails, the one I lose. And you lose Hearts, because you like Marty
Yeah, I knew you were going
Balin,
to pull that one away.
I'm like, no, Marty Balin's not making this list. I don't know, did Paul Kantner have any songs that made, that ranked? Didn't rank any of those.
Just miracles. Maybe miracles would be our number one.
Yeah, let's find out. Number 1, right? Okay, so number 10. It's a song I'm like, it's one of those songs you think you might have heard, but I couldn't remember this being on the radio. But it is good. No Protection is actually. Well, no, it's not on No Protection. It's on Knee Deep in the Hoopla. This would be their 3rd ranked song from that album. Like no attention to it. Tomorrow Doesn't Matter Tonight. And I have this at 9. You have it right outside at 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the musical instruments during that album were peak.
I actually, see, I'm like you. I'm like, I don't remember hearing it, but it's a pretty good song. I remember, okay, they put We Built the City out, then Sara came out, and then Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. It's good.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it.
Yeah. But, so that's our number 10. You're like, well, I never heard of that either. Okay, that was from Knee Deep in the Hoopla. Number 9 comes from Modern Times, and I believe this is the only song right around the late 70s. It seems like they only put one song out per album that was a hit. Find Your Way Back. I have this at 6. You have it at 10. You know, they got that part where Find Your Way Back, and all you hear is dun 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 dun. Dun,
Yeah. Is that the best part of the song?
Probably.
But I remember they have a video for it. It was one of the first videos for MTV that they put out, anyways.
Yeah.
And I remember they're running to the stage in slow motion, like each one coming at a different time until they're all together.
Now, we'll mention this because we did this during Queen. So they had 2 album titles for the Marx Brothers. Modern Times is a Charlie Chan's movie. Not Charlie Chan, Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chan.
It's easy to say that.
Okay, so Modern Times is the album name.
Right.
Isn't every era that you're in at the moment Modern Times? If we put that out now, it's
right.
Modern Times.
Well, now when you go get this album, it's not Modern Times. So it's irrelevant now.
You can put that title on at any time. You can make your album name Modern Times.
Okay. Next one comes from Nuclear Furniture, and I'm surprised I actually know 2 good songs from Nuclear Furniture. This would be the second one we haven't mentioned yet, and that's Laying It on the Line.
Right. They ran for office.
Right.
Slick and Mick.
Slick and Mick.
That's what it says on the video. They were slick.
And again, just like Styx and Tommy Shaw, I'll vote for them over this crap we have now. Okay, I had that at 7. You had it at 6. Next one, this comes from Love Among the Cannibals, a third album from Starship. Love Among Cannibals, really. I know we talked about, homeless people can fall in love, so can cannibals. Okay, and that one's called It's Not Enough. So they got It's Not Over It Till It's Over and It's Not Enough. I have this at 8. You have it at 5. So that's our number 7 song. Next one up comes from Knee Deep in the Hoopla. And that would be the slow song
that you don't care for.
Sara.
It's up there because I put it as like.
You put it at number 2.
Yeah.
Is it really your second favorite song? Really?
It's a number 1 hit. I liked it. Yes.
Okay, now I put it at 11. Similar to you have Tomorrow Doesn't.
You know what? I just like that.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know if it's it sounds like almost like a flute little.
Right. And there are some songs like that.
It does sound like the drums are electronic drums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are songs like that where
drum machine even.
I like when you can start to, when you hear things and you hear something different. Like the back, you're like, I never heard that before. Duran Duran and Rio. If you listen, really pay attention, you can hear the keyboard in the back. Nick Rhodes doing his thing all over the place. It's kind of freaky because it doesn't sound like normal music. By the way, congratulations to Duran Duran making the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this past week. Same with Pat Benatar. Finally, get some good ones in there. I don't remember these things being a big deal this year. That stood out. The inductions for this year. Okay. So that came from Knee Deep in it. Would you say Knee Deep in the Hoopla is their out of all the incarnations?
I would, yes.
That's their best. Okay. Next one up comes from No Protection. And this is my second favorite song. And that would be It's Not Over Till It's Over. You have it at number 9. Disagree. Okay. And
we'll agree to disagree.
You know what this reminds me of? Styx song, Love Is the Ritual. With the music.
Yeah. I can see that.
With the you can hear the bass doing this thing. I mean, even in the video, the bass player is like, yeah. He's like, this is cool, right? Okay, that's number 5 for us. Next one up comes from Nuclear Furniture, and that would be No Way Out. And I'm actually surprised this one.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I guess I'm surprised. I don't know. What did I have?
That's 7.
What did I have later on the lineup?
Laying It on the Line, 6. You had it.
Yeah, I would. So you're the one that changes because I would put Laying It on the Line better.
I put this at number 3, and I have a feeling.
Why would you not put Laying It on the Line higher than No Way Out?
Because it's gotta be the nostalgia. Also,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Also,
the video's better.
You're gonna say this for Glenn Fry, but I think the lines are clever.
Okay.
She doesn't buy my story. Anyways, thought up a line.
I do like the. It's like a key change from the verses to the chorus.
Yeah. And I don't remember rushing to the TV to see Laying It on the Line.
Yeah.
So
it's a more boring.
But
video.
what's that? What's the Queen song? We're like, why do we have that so high? Is because of
Radio Gaga? Because of Live Aid, you said.
I don't think it's Radio Gaga that I was talking about. One Vision.
You're talking about a video that we
back where you belong. We ranked that high, and I think it's because we like their detective video. If you listen to the song, we probably would have had
38 Special.
Yeah, 38 Special. We ranked it really high, probably because of what we thought of the song back then. Same with this one. All right, next one up from Knee Deep in the Hoopla. We Built This City. We have it at number 3, so we don't put it up at number 1 like the world did, but we have it high, top 3. I have this at 5. You have it at 4, and let me just tell you, You can't build a city
On rock and roll.
That's not a legitimate material.
And so if there was a city that was built on rock and roll, what city would it be? Would it be Cleveland?
They put it there, but
They got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
let
there.
me just tell you, I mean, people say, why is it there? There are a lot of careers, and I mean, Rush is one of them,
Yeah.
where their career took off because of Cleveland.
Yeah.
And that's why, who suggested it? You said Billy Joel? Said there was a choice between San Francisco and Cleveland. And somebody said...
Oh, yeah, I don't remember who I
I
said.
thought you said it was Billy Joel.
Could
right?
be. Could be.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, a big star like that saying Cleveland, we'll take it. But anyway,
I mean, the bands in general would know what cities, because they tour all the time, so
Yes.
they're at the cities.
Yeah,
they would
and
know which cities
not
are
only
the
that,
ones.
but same. I would say concerts. Probably they do see the fan base.
That's why I said
Same like sports. The Browns, even when they stink, they're full the capacity. I mean, you got a fan base. They love entertainment stuff. So
was this city built on sports?
no, but the other thing I have to, maybe that song would be taken better is if their video didn't stink. You're talking about a city. How about putting actual cities in your, complimenting cities in our nation as opposed to putting animated buildings.
Yeah.
I think that ruined that video as well. So
Do they say it's a terrible song because of the video?
maybe. I'd agree with the video is not as good as it should be. Okay, next one up. Number 2. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, the Mannequin song.
The
I have
Mannequins.
I have this at 4. You have at 3. It's from No Protection. That's why that album's even a little bit good compared to the other one. That one and the song that I like at number 2. And then that means our number 1, we agree
Everybody
on again.
knows. It's change.
Change. I should have said that.
Yeah,
I forgot.
you
Oops.
Jane.
Just like you wanted me to say fried chicken.
Yeah. Jane is their best song.
Jane is their best song on Freedom at Point Zero. And funny, that's
Best part of the song, when they do the change, right? Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah, because it starts off with just piano, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that song is not even from the 80s. It's a 1979
I don't care.
song.
It's an yeah.
But you're going to find that.
Technically, they're 80s. Well, Jefferson Starship did have 80s.
Yes. And you know what? If it
At
was,
the latter end, the
if it was
Starship
really-
is technically
if it was
the
really
80s
popular, even if it plays in 1979, it veers into 1980, so this qualifies. So that's our number 1. That's your number 1.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
And that one, luckily, still plays on the radio as well.
Yeah,
So.
yes.
All right. And next week, who do we have?
So next week we will be doing In Excess. And that's something you should not be doing with anything, is don't do anything in excess.
In case you didn't know, that's what it spells out is the word excess.
In excess. Yes.
Excess in excess.
Whatever.
Something.
All right, next week, In Excess.
Bye.
Bye.